I wonder what the state of Alabama is going to be doing New Year's Day about 1 o'clock Eastern time. Let's see. Alabama and Auburn both playing at the same time. How does that work out? We got Joe Hunk on the line from the Fallout 740 in Montgomery, Alabama, to take a look at the Tide and the Tigers. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and I will tell you, it's very different to be in a city, in a state where we're not really focused on the college football playoff. We had people that were taking normal vacations. Alabama fans actually got to use their money that they put aside for the college football playoff for on Christmas presents for their families and stuff. It's very strange because for a period of time, for the last 5 or 6, I mean, honestly, since 2009, one of the fan bases was preparing to go to some sort of championship game, whether it was the college football playoff semifinal or national championship or the BCS. And so it's kind of become this period of time where, I don't know if you've seen kind of start circling during the December months of that little planning system where if week 1 you say towards Christmas or whatever you do it for, Bama fans and Auburn fans do that for the college football playoff and the national championship so that they have that money. In fact, I should know when the national championship is, because if you're a Bama fan, you know that you cannot reserve a hotel room except for 365 days out. And what Alabama fans do is they go, okay, national championships in New Orleans, let's go ahead and get our hotel room a year in advance. And now they're like, wait, I don't have to spend that money this year. I don't know what to do. They're like, would you spend time with family during this, or what exactly do you do? So it's really a weird period of time.
So this is what bothers me as a college football fan is that, and I go through this every year and explain this to everyone, and I'm probably the only person in America that cares, but the SEC and the Big Ten are contracted to play in the Citrus Bowl and the Outback Bowl. And outside of the playoff games, these are two of the better games typically. And again, I go to the power brokers in the sport, which are the SEC and the Big Ten. I love to see them get together, and they're playing at the same time. And that's why I reference off the top in the state of Alabama, especially, hey, if you're an Alabama fan, but you want to keep an eye on Auburn or vice versa, you got to keep that remote handy at 1 o'clock Eastern time on New Year's Day, because they're playing at the same time. And the same thing in the Big Ten. If you like to watch your fellow Big Ten teams play, well, they're both playing at the same time.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is you've got multiple options. The first option is if you have multiple televisions, move it in from the bedroom. Let's get everything set up. The cord, so I have a TV stick. Put that into both TVs. They're both set up side by side. Let's watch them at the exact same time, which what me and my wife are going to have to do, because I don't know if you've tried taking a 14-month-old to a restaurant. It doesn't really work, especially for 3 hours. So we're going to probably go with that option. The other one is what I just said, and that is going to a restaurant and being able to watch these games for a period of time, because, this happens in the state of Alabama, not just on a day like New Year's Day, but this will happen throughout the year. Whenever you're talking about Alabama and Auburn, either one playing at that 6 o'clock window or the 6:30 window late in the season, or sometimes whenever they're playing these 11 a.m. kicks, they'll be playing at the exact same time, and you kind of run into the period where they're all you're having to be at the restaurant together. What restaurants in the state of Alabama love is when Alabama kicks off at that 2:30 CBS or Auburn kicks off at that 2:30 CBS, and then the next, because then the Auburn fans or the Alabama fans roll out, Alabama fans roll in, and you just get this constant flow of cash. It's not going to be the case on New Year's Day, where they're all going to be there at the same time. We air the Alabama, do we air the Auburn audio? Which fan bases are we going to make angry at what point in time? That's where you're going to be, because everybody kicks off at the same time on Monday or on Wednesday.
And they used to do it in a way in which it was a little bit staggered. Like the Outback would kick off at 11 Eastern time in the morning, and you could watch like half the game into the third quarter, and then the second game would kick in, and I would be, and again, this is pre-internet, where I got my laptop and I open up the other streams and I can see everybody play at the same time, where I'm thinking, okay, this game's a blowout, I'm going to go to the kickoff of the next game, or this game's a really good game, I'm going to wait and see what happens before I go to the next game.
Yeah, it's like the NCAA tournament where on those first 2 or 4, it's like every 30 or 45 minutes a new game is and you kind of get that flow of, okay, well, this one's in the first half. Wait, this one is only got about another 30, 45 seconds. Let me swap over to that. And you kind of have that where now it's boom, we've got 40-something bowl games. We've got to get them all in. And New Year's Day is a very popular day. So let's get a lot of these on at the exact same time.
Got Joe Hunk on the line from the Fallout at 7:40 a.m. Montgomery, Alabama, to talk Auburn football. We know Minnesota's going to show up and they're going to be ready to play. I don't know if they've got the talent to hang with Auburn, a la Purdue, although this Minnesota team's better than that Purdue team was last year that went 6-7. This Minnesota team's won 10 games. They've beaten Penn State. I think they're pretty legit. I think they are one of the top 15 to 20 teams legitimately in this country. But we know that they're going to be ready to play. They don't play this game on a regular basis. Now, PJ Fleck may make this an every year thing going forward, but man, this is uncharted territory for Auburn. We're in the Outback Bowl. This is pretty much low hanging fruit. If we're not able to get to a playoff, if we're not able to get to a BCS, former BCS game, now current New Year's Six game, this is fine. Can we expect Auburn to show up and ready to go?
Well, and there actually is something there, though. And this is where this is kind of different than most seasons, is because Auburn's record. They're a 9-3 football team right now. They've lost to Florida, they've lost to LSU, and they've lost to Georgia. Auburn, in the history of Auburn football, the bar for being a good coach is getting to 10 wins. And that is where Auburn is at this point in time in this season. 10-3 looks a lot better than what 9-4 does. And in the history of Auburn football, the field is named after Pat Dye. Pat Dye was a coach that loved to get to 10 wins. And whenever you were only playing 11 or 12 football games, that was a really big deal. Well, if Gus Malzahn gets to 10 wins on Wednesday, he's only going to be one 10-win season behind Pat Dye, where Auburn has the field named after him. And even though Auburn fans are going to be watching this football game, they're going to be on both sides of this, because now they want to get to that 10-win level because that number just looks so good going into that second recruiting period. But the other part of this is they're going to be watching this because they still understand they're still not a fan of Gus Malzahn. They're just not. And now you're looking at Gus. The person that they're looking at that they want is right across the field. It's the other guy. They want PJ Fleck. They want him. They want to be like, look, we know you can only get to so far at Minnesota. We want you at Auburn. And over the course of the last couple of months, PJ Fleck was the guy that Auburn fans were looking at, that if this everything works out, that's how who would be the next coach. And the idea was, look, $10 million is really not that big of a deal. We can pay that because we're going to get a ton of money when this new SEC on CBS is not going to happen anymore. And we're going to be getting like $20 and $30 million more than what we get now. Paying a $10 million buyout is no big deal. We can afford that. And so the Auburn fan is looking at Gus Malzahn. He's never going to be the favorite guy, even though he's about to potentially get to 10 wins. They're also looking at a guy across the field going, man, you would really look good in orange and blue. And we really know that you could be a coach that could get and bring that atmosphere we want, because as much as you're talking about this, we're talking about the Outback Bowl. You know what the top story is in the state of Alabama right now? It's the fact that the Auburn basketball team is number 8 in the country, and they're doing so with Bruce Pearl. Wait a second. PJ Fleck is Bruce Pearl of college football. Why not bring him here? You have 2 of these guys, and then add to the fact that we're going to the college football playoff, or we're going to national championships. We're going to the Final Four. We're going to the College World Series. But now we've got these guys in that's got this personality, and they make this a little bit more attractive. And if PJ Fleck can bring Minnesota here, let's get him here. Is it reasonable? No, it's not reasonable at all, because there's other universities thinking the exact same thing. But at this game, you are looking at it's like you're going to a restaurant. You've got your date in front of you, but man, that girl at the other table is really, really sexy.
And if Minnesota pulls off the win, then you talk about this fan base really being infuriated by that.
And that's how to be. It's always going to be like that. Like, as good as Gus Malzahn is, look, he's beaten Alabama multiple times. This is a very good football team that has finally done something that we never thought that Gus Malzahn would do. He's recruited the offensive line during a recruiting period, and not just got 2 and 3 star guys. He's had to go the JUCO route. He's got some JUCO offensive linemen coming in, but these guys should start next year. He's got these skill players that are going to be coming back next year. He's got a quarterback that, as crazy as it sounds, is in the Heisman conversation for next year, at least for the Vegas voting and the Vegas odds. He's got a lot of stuff for him, but the fan base is just never going to be behind him. But he continues to win. And at some point in time, you have to understand this guy is getting you to the place that you want to be. He's getting the football-only facility. He's brought Chad Morris in, which Chad Morris, people forget because of his time at SMU and Arkansas. The reason why Clemson is where they are now is because Morris was the offensive coordinator there. Finally go away because of what he started doing in the BCS Bowls. Like, you see this guy coming in that's a great quarterback coach. He's the one that got Deshaun Watson to come to Clemson. He's the one that's gotten these recruiting these good big name quarterbacks. What if he does this for Auburn? Like, you continue to look at the guy, but the one you've got now is starting to put together that resume. It may not be the pretty girl in 10th or 11th grade, but when you go back for that 10-year reunion, you're looking at her like, okay, all right, you've grown, you've matured, you've got my attention, and now this guy is just as good, and that's where Gus Malzahn is. He's a really good head coach, and he's becoming that, and he's growing into that, but Auburn fans are so ready to find somebody else that they like more, and that's why they're going to be looking across the field, even though it's not warranted.